All right, we're ready to go. Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update. I'm your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories and information found here can be found at our website at www.indiancountrynews.com, where your online membership or donation helps supports the development of this television station. Here's some of the news articles of the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A 20-year-old Ronan, Montana woman has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after her husband was stabbed several times in the stomach. Lake County Sheriff's Lieutenant Mike Sargent says deputies and tribal law enforcement officers responded to a reported stabbing last month. Officers found 27-year-old Russell Fourhorns had suffered multiple stab wounds to the abdomen. He was treated at the hospital and released. Sargent said the victim's wife, 28-year-old Nicole Fourhorns, eventually confessed to the stabbing. She is being held in a Lake County jail on suspicion of attempted murder, tampering with evidence, and assault with a weapon. A case that began 5 years ago with a drug seizure in Fargo, North Dakota, has led to charges against 24 people accused in a conspiracy to distribute drugs from the Turtle Mountain Chippewa Reservation. Authorities said January 29th that large amounts of methamphetamine and marijuana were removed from Washington, California, and Mexico to the reservation for distribution elsewhere. The case is known as Operation Paint by Numbers. The alleged leader of the operation, Miguel Chavez, is from Washington State. He faces charges that include continuing criminal enterprise, said U.S. Attorney Drew Wiggle. Wrigley said that the investigation began in 2002 with the seizure of 4 pounds of meth in Fargo. More arrests are expected, he said. Equating Oklahoma public schools' use of mascots, redskins, and savages to racism, more than a dozen church and civil rights groups announced their support last Friday for a new measure that would ban using the names considered derogatory by American Indians. Quote, "This is the N-word for us," said Louis Gray, president of the Tulsa Indian Coalition Against Racism, at a news conference at the Tulsa Press Club. "I just recoil every time I hear the words," unquote. The measure, titled the Oklahoma Anti-Discriminatory Mascots Act, has been introduced by Tulsa State Senator Judy Eason McIntyre. It specifically refers to savages and redskins as derogatory terms, but it could cover other names considered offensive by Indians. McIntyre, a Democrat, introduced a similar bill 4 years ago, but it died in a Senate committee. She said at the time that she encountered derogatory comments as a young black college student in the early 1960s, and she is sensitive to the objections by the Native community to the use of the mascots. The Pine Ridge Reservation of South Dakota, one of the nation's largest reservations, is now served by a public transportation system that's been 5 years in the making. It gives many of the roughly 45,000 residents a way to work, shop, attend school, socialize, and go to the doctor without having to walk, hitchhike, or ask friends or relatives for a ride, said Emma Featherman Sam, the tribe's transit coordinator. The Oglala Sioux Transit Facility opened last Friday by offering free rides on the 6 routes that run 3 times daily. It will employ about 18 people. The longest stretch extends 111 miles from Georgetown, east of Wombly, to the tribe's Prairie Wind Casino on the far western edge of the reservation that covers about 4,400 square miles, more than twice the size of the state of Delaware. Other villages served include Wombly, Kyle, Porcupine, Wounded Knee, Pine Ridge, and Oglala. The transit system might eventually offer routes to Rapid City that connect with its bus system for shopping, entertainment, and health care needs, Featherman Sam said. Each year, the Native American Journalists Association offers scholarships ranging from $500 to $5,000 to Native American students pursuing journalism degrees at an institution of higher education. Any Native American high school senior or college student pursuing a career in radio, television, or print newspaper journalism is eligible. Applicants must be a current NAJA member in good standing. Annual memberships only cost $10 for high school students and $20 for college students. If asked, the candidate must be able to provide proof of enrollment in a state or federally recognized tribe. Application deadline is June 1st, 2009, and you can find out more information by going to the NAJA website at www.naja.com. That's NAJA.com. Return of the Corn Mothers at the University of Colorado Museum of Natural History is being held over by popular demand. Due to community popularity, the University of Colorado Museum of Natural History in Boulder, Colorado, has extended the Return of the Corn Mothers, a photojournal exhibition of Southwest women, until March 31st of this year. Originally scheduled to end in January, the show will run an extra 2 months and also be the subject of an up-and-coming workshop at the University of Colorado Boulder campus. Based on a Pueblo myth of the Corn Mothers, who are said to have sung in the essence of all creation, including the sacred Kashinas, the exhibition was a 2007 Rocky Mountain Women's Institute Award winner. It features multicultural and multi-generational women from Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas who embody the spirit of the Southwest. Touted as one of the most unique exhibits to come out of Colorado recently, the focal point of the show is a photo exhibition of women who have earned praise from their community for activism and creative endeavors. Each featured woman also recounts in story form their memories of the women who influenced them in their life journey. The Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian is putting its 800,000 object collection online. The museum planned to launch the first phase of the project February 2nd, beginning with 5,500 items and photographs. The project is part of the museum's regular website. Officials say the digital showcase will allow people living far away from the museum's 3 locations in Washington and New York to view its archives. Museum Director Kevin Gover says the project also is geared toward American Indians who may not be able to afford to travel to the museum's locations but have access to the internet and satellite technology. Currently, the museum can barely display 1% of its collections at its locations at any time. Officials say it'll take about 4 years to put all of its objects on the website. According to the Hopi newspaper Tutuvani, on January 15th, hip-hop artist Gabriel Yaiva joined actor, musician, and motivational speaker Sean Michael Perry in Anaheim, California, to premiere the All That Culture, Music of the Americas and First Nations Nation project in conjunction with the National Association of Music Merchants 2009 event. The performance showcased the music of Perry, Yavaya, Jay Nez, Clarence Clearwater, and The Rhythm Kings in an all-star jam. Yavaya, who directs the Peace and Balance, Educating and Healing Through Music project, says that was an opportunity to expose the native music scene into the world of high-end merchants in the business world. But the real-world venue of the reservation is never far from his mind. Perry insists that native music deserves a place in the mainstream market. You can get more information on that project at www.peaceandbalance.com. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank our underwriters and our newest supporters, www.whitebison.org and On Native Ground. They both have videos in the feature video player running right now. Join us again for the latest Native News Update soon. Miigwech.